Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Chess Show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today we have our distinguished guest, Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on again.
It's great to have you as always. And Jim Eid from Eid Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you, Sasha. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I would like to mention that there is a proliferation of different tournaments that we can all enjoy watching. It's broadcast on the different channels with different commentators, and in fact, it's very enjoyable. Even some tournaments, like the latest one, the team speed chess tournament. It's unclear how these teams are being put together and what each team represents, or so on. But you know what? Once you start watching, it's becoming not really important because the games are fantastically entertaining. The commentators are getting better and better each time that I'm watching. And for example, my wife, for example, she's enjoying all these shows, and she gets up 7 in the morning when it's needed, and is watching all the way. And of course, I watch it too whenever I can. And it seems to me that this is a new phenomenon now in the chess world. It doesn't even matter who is organizing, and the commentators are all pretty good. For example, this team on the latest team tournament was Yasser Servan, Elvira Skripchenko, and Maurice Ashley. It was just fantastic, like show second to none. Jim, what do you think about this?
Well, I agree with you. I think the commentators make a big difference, and Yasser, of course, has been good for a long, long time. Maurice Ashley also very, very good. I also like Peter Spidler when he's on. But everybody can have their own favorites. But there's no question that having a good commentator can make or break a show.
Absolutely agree. Ken, what's your observations?
Yes, well, I unfortunately did not take time. I was busy to listen to the commentary, even as I was spending time screening all the games.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the commentators add a lot of spice. I still have in my memory the incredible ending to the rapid tournament, the tournament that ended with the sudden checkmate on move 70 in the playoff last June.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ken, do you have some games
very exciting
that you would like to show us?
Yes, indeed. So I can show you 2 games from the World Rapid Team Championship. And the common thread of the games is they both feature interesting and enterprising play by Black. And I'm going to start with the young man of the hour, GM Pragnananda, who was given a hero's welcome in India.
Yes.
Because his return coincided with the festival Onam, where people do art in bright colors, and that was the case in how he was welcomed. And he was welcomed by officials of his native Chennai in Tamil Nadu state. So anyway, so that's great to see. So let me share my screen.
It is great to see. Ken, I just wanted to mention, I thought about that, like maybe Bobby Fischer got some kind of welcome like that. When
Paul Morphy.
Well, perhaps Morphy, right. I wasn't around for that. But I haven't seen anything like that in the United States since maybe Fischer's welcome in New York City.
That's right. Yeah. So this was good. We took the champion to tie breaks. So I'm going to go through the motions here. Okay. So I'm going to share my entire screen. I hope it's easier. I hope nothing sensitive comes up. Oops. So here, I have to click that and then that. And now I think it's working. And here we go. Okay. So
I don't see anything yet, Ken. Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Okay. So this is in the final round of he was on the victorious team WR Chess, which was led, interestingly, on first board by Wesley So. Of course, he would do that by rating, not by the order of finish in the World Cup. Right. And it had Alexander Kostenyuk, who's now representing Switzerland.
Wow.
Okay, so this was a drawn match, but it was enough to give WR Chess the title on match points. And a key element of the match was Praggnanandha's win. Now against a low rated player because he was on third board, but still, this is an exercise in how you play for a win with the black pieces by finding that some less traveled openings actually have dynamic opportunities, and that is the case with the Steinitz deferred in the Rui Lopez. Okay, so,
And I just want to point out that that's my rating, so be careful.
Okay.
With
yeah, I'm inactive. I'm a little bit higher than that, but not much. So,
But your point is well taken. These old openings are getting mined again.
right. Yeah. So, what makes this a little more, there are various ways that black can play a kingside fianchetto in the Rui Lopez, and this is one of them. So black is playing strong point chess, going to maintain the e5 square at all costs and hope not to get collapsed or play not to get collapsed. I mean, if you have a chess mind and you visualize this position, you see weak square on f6, weak square on f7, and you imagine being able to jet your f pawn up the board. But right now, white's knight is in the way. It's going to take several moves for white to do that. In fact, white plays more conventional means in the center. Okay, so white is just hoping to be able to play boa constrictor style, take advantage of greater central space, and eventually create an enduring advantage. So it's a question of whether black can play dynamically in the Rui Lopez. It's called the Spanish torture because often black falls into a game where he can't play dynamically. Okay, so this is a very interesting move as well. It's just playing for space.
Yep.
And this is really weird. I mean, I don't have time to analyze the engine evaluations. I don't know why H3 kicks this down to where the engine already prefers black, because H3 is a very natural move for white to make in this kind of position. But now here comes black's counterattack.
Gotcha.
And maybe H3 is a crucial weakness that enables this counterattack to succeed with vigor.
Excellent point. I did not pick up on that, Ken. And what was the alternative to H3 according to the computer?
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's be slaves to engines here.
Yeah.
We're on short time scales, and I just came back from a class. Let's see if we can see what the engine wanted white to do. So the engine wanted white to play queen e2 or capture on e5, which I would think is a bit committal, or play knight c4. Those are all natural moves.
Yep.
Playing toward the center. I think queen e2 would probably be my choice.
Yep.
Potentially setting up rook a d1 if you think pressure on the d file will be a factor.
Right. So H3 creating a target is very, very, because when I saw H3, I didn't think, H3 getting love to the king, but it creates a target.
Yeah.
So
It's usually a strong move for white in the Rui Lopez.
Yeah, I would say that after King H8, I think black already secures not so much positional advantage as I would say the playing advantage. It's much easier and more natural to play with black's position where you have ideas as f5. Whether it's h3 or pawn on h2, queen on e2 is not much stronger than on g1. You see, in my opinion, white in this position is very static. I don't see any ideas except to counterattack black's formation. But I don't see any clear path. It's just waiting until black would create some kind of significant weakness. Otherwise, I don't see what's a white plan with queen on e2, pawn on h2, for example. Okay, what's this position is much better than this pawn on h3. It's still very static positions. There are no weaknesses in black's position to attack. I don't understand how white is continued to develop any meaningful way, really, I would be very depressed to have this position with white pieces. But that's because I lack understanding of this position.
Yeah.
But
What you
that,
say witnesses why the computer actually likes Praggnananda's B6, whereas I'm not as
that's very
familiar.
unusual. I never seen that in real past. It's quite interesting move.
But the real thing to note is that if black plays F5 now, the computer still thinks white retains a half pawn advantage.
Hmm.
And there's one other thing. I don't know if it applies in this position. Obviously, things need to be worked out tactically. But in a related position that I saw on Twitter, the plan of playing G3 and knight H4 to make F5 have a higher cost, such as weakening G6 in this position, was played. It does not seem to be effective here, though. Like maybe G3 just makes too many weaknesses, and indeed G3 says that F5 comes at you like like the Valkyries. So okay, so you obviously tactics need to be consulted, but maybe the idea I was mentioning before of playing for F4 is actually more viable in this position. Okay, anyway.
And I thought that the move B6 looked curious to me too, and then I thought it's trying to control C5.
Yeah.
And because after theoretically pawn exchanges in the center, the bishop would have C5 to go to.
Correct.
And it's not clear to me what's going on, because Queen E2, Rook A D1, takes on E5, Knight C4, and these types of ideas seem pretty natural to me. But does F5 really constitute an attack on the king side? I don't see too much danger right now, with the pawn back on H2. With the pawn on H3, now I see possibilities of tearing open the king side position.
Yeah. You have to look deep. So really, the engine seeing deep, of course, and so that's we can't calculate deeply, but we do have an intuitive feel for what is going on. And now, just as you were saying, one of the things going on is that because of B6, F4 is a threat, trapping the bishop in this position. So white played this to give the bishop more room. Black defended E5.
Yeah, and see if you got Queen E2 and Rook A D1 in, then the bishop could retreat and knight goes to E3. I see possibilities here, but the way the black played it with H3, it was too slow.
Yeah.
Not only did it give it a target, but it was not helpful to white's development.
Right. And what's notable about this position, and this is something that in my technical work I've had real difficulty quantifying, is that this position has a dangerous arc for white. There are only two moves that preserve nearness to equality according to the engine. And neither of them are moves I would consider. I would consider Queen E2 first, and let's see how bad it is. Okay, well, Queen E2 just says you're going to be attacked by E4, and Queen H4, and you've dawdled for a move and haven't taken a step against that. So there are multiple threats for black here, and that's why knight H2 is prophylactic. Queen D5, I have no idea what that move would be doing, except maybe putting pressure on E5 distracts black.
I certainly wouldn't have played it. I wouldn't have thought of it.
Yeah, well, I guess you could follow with Rook A D1 and it's doing something.
Correct. I see. Maybe I would have thought of that. Yeah, because I want to get the Rook to D1.
Yeah, but in fact, however, white played a crazy counterattacking move of the kind that maybe would work better in blitz. But look at this. This is very spectacular because white is poised to sacrifice a bishop. And then the follow-up is to sacrifice a knight. Well, that's a sham sacrifice because white is going to have Queen H5 check and ultimately mate because the bishop has availed control of G8. However, according to the engine, black can safeguard it with this move. Yeah. And what's interesting now is white follows through. And if black captures, then this is the checkmate that we're talking about. The essentially checkmate. So
after,
and then this does major damage on the diagonal. However, what black can do is just very cold-bloodedly play king h7. And maybe this kind of thing is impossible. I mean, you're losing the rook with check. You're giving up this knight, and then you're allowing white's queen into the position.
Yeah,
and is this really safe for black? You can play king bishop h6, and I guess white's attack. Well, I don't know. Knight takes e5, rook's coming in,
yeah,
and you have queen g5, probably squelches it. So it's hard
Yeah.
to calculate
Yeah.
that.
That would make sense. Only some people believe that a check is a worth of a quarter of a mate. So if you have 4 checks,
Yeah,
it's a checkmate. So then you would have something going.
yeah. So this
we
was
had a much more
enterprising stuff.
derogatory things
Right.
about people who gave check for no reason.
Yep, by I.M. Baskin. So Praggnanandhaa ducked, and now the game is back in the realm of equality, but only if white continues a hack-happy way. Well, knight h4 is not bad, too. Okay. So the initial skirmish is resolved. White has cleared pieces out of the way of black's e4 and f4 threats.
Correct.
And traded off one attacker, and white's bishop is not in danger of being trapped. So this now has reached some kind of stasis where white is okay, but black can keep on coming. Okay, so black moves
Well, that was a good move.
or keeps the knight. And okay, this is an equal position. Maybe I would prefer to play black because I have a strong pawn. It's a question of whether black's knight can get to a better square. White's bishops are not going to line up against anything. Lining up against a6 and b6 is not a worry.
Ken, when you mentioned that white is okay, remember it was very popular book way back by Grandmaster Adorian by the name Black is Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's coming time for a book, The White is Okay.
That's right. But yes, that's what we're seeing in these matches, though. Black able to counterpunch. Unfortunately, Adorian, whom I did meet in a tournament in Hungary in 1978, passed away a few months ago.
Yes, that's right.
So, okay. So, I mean, I if I'm playing black, this is fine. Okay, so maybe I did have to worry about those queenside pawns. Okay, so now this is, I'd say it's just dynamically and recognizably equal, but white's king is white's king a little more uncomfortable? It's hard to tell. Okay, so you'd expect this to be a draw.
I certainly do at this point.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the e4 pawn is black's ace in the hole.
Right.
All endings I would think favor black, but you know, with the queenside weaknesses and its pawn structure, I can't see that. Well, it's hard to say that definitively one way or the other, but it certainly seems a draw is the most likely outcome.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
one
but
thing
it's
is
only black who can play for advantage.
Yeah, I think so too, Sasha.
yeah, it's a question of whether white can play g4, to my mind, because
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
that puts some heat on the black king. Rook e3, that strikes me as a passive move. Well, I don't know. Rook e2. White is definitely playing passively. So
and black has made some progress.
yeah, and white now lashes out. So that's not a good thing. Now e3. Well, it's still equal, but white, I think, now is teetering in the.
Yeah, now I'm scared if I'm white.
Yeah, it's definitely after e4, I'm scared. So queen f6 holds the balance, or queen a5. I guess that puts pressure on both put pressure on f5. King g3 is okay too.
Whoa.
Yes. Am I worried about being mated in this position? Well, let's see. All right, we did shed a pawn. So, okay, we put the king on the wrong square, a very common error that can be made. Still, I white might be objectively lost by this time. But anyway, king g1. So there's a tactical flaw that makes rook d7. Now this is just winning for black. And white gave up here because it's going to be, well, the combination is very nice. So this is after queen takes queen, what's black's win?
Rook G2.
Takes G2 check. Yep, and then captures white's queen.
But why was King H1?
Yeah, let's see.
better?
Why would King H1 have survived here? Very fine point. That's difficult to see when you're down to a few seconds.
I was thinking that, especially in any kind of speed. If I had to play quickly, I would have played King G1.
So rook E1, and now let's play as black did in the game with Queen
So
F2.
it's no longer check. That's important.
Oh yeah, it's no longer. Oh yeah, that's right. White is able to play rook E1 without, and if you play rook, so okay, so yeah, I guess tactically, so Queen F2 is the move I would play. Rook G1 looks forced to me. So what's black's Achilles heel here? Why can't I just bring my pawn?
Yeah, why can't you? I don't see.
Yeah. So I guess white is just holding here, stodging. I guess white is just holding this.
Because you have the rook can't leave the 7th rank because of perpetual.
Yeah. And then white does have an avenue of counterplay.
So you can't just sit.
No, maybe not. H5. Boy, this is very complicated to calculate. Yeah, it takes a while for the engine to say that white's counterplay arrives in time. Boy, this is very tactical. Okay, but anyway, enterprising play by Pragnananda. I have one other game to show.
And this win did what for the team?
This win contributed to a 3-3 tie, which was all that WR chess needed to assure the title.
Very cool.
Now, let me point out that one of the most interesting teams was literally called the FIDE Management Board. It had members of FIDE, the FIDE Managing Director, Dana Resnietsa Ozala, strong player, and of course, former World Championship challenger Nigel Short. Arkady Dvorkovich played in 3 of the matches himself.
Very interesting.
Yep, and Grandmaster Bologan, Emil Sutovsky, I think played a few matches as well. So
I think they would beat the U.S. chess board.
Well, yeah, the USCF board. Yes, I guess so.
They could include in their team Emil Sutovsky, and that would be a nice addition to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Emil Sutovsky played for the Freedom team.
Oh, I see.
Which had Anand, who was also vice president.
Yeah,
of FIDE.
I thought
So
Anand when you first mentioned it. Yeah,
the FIDE management board, and then 3 people playing under the FIDE flag, and two from Israel. So the other game I want to show is Yevgeny Nazar's win for Freedom against Grandmaster Grandmaster Felix Levin. Because this again features some interesting play by black. And it's just, it's the kind of thing that I'm seeing more often in modern chess as I go over games. So let me launch into this game. This is again black doing well. The rating difference may be helping, of course. But so white has played a sort of third move deferred London system.
London, yeah.
Which I don't know. I have not followed up with the theory of, but you get these early tactical skirmishes with black trying to disturb white's bishop.
Yeah, I played bishop to G3 here, so I don't know any more this line.
Yeah. So now it just becomes a matter of, which squares are good to take. So, for instance, white wants to show that black's knight on H5 is offside. So white does not want to exchange the bishop for that knight, but black insists at the cost of making what could be a weakness on the king side. Right. So white provoked that move rather than retreat the bishop to G3 immediately. And now,
so is it good or is it bad? And
is it good or is it bad? G6 is supporting H5 and allowing another mode of development. And now E6, what's that? Well, you'll see what it is in a moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's what white's bishop is not going anywhere, and just a creepy crawly move. Like, what's bishop D7 doing? I don't know.
Yeah.
But now watch black's next move. king to f7.
Whoa.
Maybe
Did not see that coming.
yes, this is maybe this is a theory from one of those special tournaments where you can't castle.
Ah,
I want to see a tournament where the players can only castle queenside, nodding to our better halves. Okay, so king f7. Now, black is very compact, and black is really not starved for space. Black has more pawns on the fourth rank than white does. So this is a new way to marshal your army. They capture the bishop. Now,
and
queen
he
b6.
waited until white castled before he captured the bishop.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah, well, black did. I should point that out. Yeah. Now, queen b6 again. I would have just played bishop g7 to connect my rooks. So, what is this doing? Is it attacking d4? Maybe it's preventing white from opening the position against black's king. It does attack the b pawn, and now black is just happy to grab more space, almost as if he's playing Go rather than chess. But the main point is white hasn't done anything. White has nothing here that even lays claim to an advantage. There is actually no weakness in black's position. The square b5, not really a weakness. And white can't blow things open. Black has a lot of things covering b4.
And isn't this interesting that bishop d7 was played in order to get the rook to d8? And then you see bishop d7, bishop c8.
Mm-hmm.
And that the whole point was to get it out of the way so the rook could get in the game.
Right. And
so
black's
bishop was not as mysterious. But I didn't see this whole king f7 idea. So
yeah, time is not of the essence here, and black's bishop on f8 is perfectly well developed because it's putting pressure on b4. It's preventing white from trying to make a breakthrough there. Okay, so the bishop commits itself to d6, and now the engine thinks that was a mistake. So what do we know? The engine thinks that black should have resolved the tension and castled the king to g7, and then you can play bishop d6. So let's see. So the engine thinks now that white can profitably bust things open on e4, but white doesn't. Okay. So now, yeah. So the engine thinks white should have left more tension in the center for that move. Okay. Well, now the engine thinks white is doing well, or would have been doing well if white had captured on c6. So why?
Now that's interesting. I would not have thought that.
Maybe to be able to play e5.
Yeah, let's see. Yes, that's very good, Sasha. Yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah. Didn't think of that. Very good.
And the point of e5 is that black's bishop on c8 has been promoted to a pawn. It's locked on through e6 and is not going to come out on a6 anytime soon. So okay, yeah, this is and now white in fact has distracted enough of black's army away that b4 is going to happen. And that's going to give white control of key center squares and initiative on the queen side. So there you go. Okay. But that is not what white did. And instead, white is trying to open the position. And,
so now the f6 pawn covers the dark squares around the king, so we're okay again.
Yeah. White is hoping to be able to block on d4. There we go. Okay, so we blocked the isolated pawn. At the cost of allowing black to contest the e file. Okay, so now
we've castled.
Now we've castled, yes. So now black's it's a more static position, and equal. Okay, so white decides. So that's the thing. So how do you play enterprisingly when your opponent is trading off all the pieces and has a block? That's what's interesting about this game. Okay? So instead of exchanges on d4, which is what the engine gives as the first line, though equivalent in value, black tries bringing out the pieces a different way. So the amazing thing is this game is going to end in 7 more moves. You wouldn't expect it.
No.
Okay, there's nothing here that says white's position is going to collapse.
The way I'm looking at this position now, I'm looking at the isolated d pawn as an endgame weakness, but there's the 2 bishops for black as an endgame strength. And how do you balance that? I always joke about this. If Karpov was white, Karpov would win. If Karpov was black, Karpov would win.
Yeah. And do we say the same about Carlson nowadays?
Yes, probably.
Yeah. Okay, so this is interesting. Black tempts white in to h6. White does not go into h6. Let's actually see what happens if white were to play queen h6. So the answer is black is perfectly happy just defending with the king back. And
And what do you got?
yeah, what do you got? White doesn't have any other. The white's bishop is not supporting an attack on the g6 square from where it is. So it's the so sometimes you want to keep possible entry squares guarded. Other times you can afford to let them be. And now this is the mistake. Okay.
Interesting.
So now what we should say, obviously, what's the weakness in white's position?
Right.
So before we play the next move, so there is one notable weakness in white's position, and that's the f2 square. Right now, the f2 square is not attacked and is defended by white's queen and king. So you feel fine, but when you let down your guard, okay, so the
Oh my goodness gracious!
win and win. So this is sudden collapse.
Sudden collapse is right. Oh my goodness!
There we
What
go.
a mistake! And I didn't even see it at first, so it's like I get it why you would do it, but oh my goodness!
And white gave up. It's made a few moves.
Because I was thinking when you said what was the weakness, I was thinking you were going to say the a4 pawn, and blinded to this combination.
Right. Yeah, and it's a very, very simple one. You just think your position's secure, but you play one move,
exactly,
let it loose, and there it goes. So that was the key win that assured second place for the Freedom Team. So lots of enterprising chess. It also should be noted, incidentally, that this was a mixed event. And, women's boards on boards 5. This was a game. It looks like a fairly decisive game by Paulina Shuvalova against Anna Zatonsky of the U.S.
So. And Zatonsky is at one point during the game, she got quite promising position, and all of a sudden she collapsed. Now, the previous game, the same thing, Jim, without offense, 2,300 player. And what I would like to notice that these players, unlike top 27 plus, 100 plus players, the major difference is they do understand chess quite well, but their defensive skills are considerably less formidable, and they can crush about equal position almost in 3-4 moves, never mind in one move. I remember some grandmasters made comments about giants of chess from previous generations, like Karpov, for example, even Kasparov. They mentioned that to beat them, you had to win game several times. You had to beat them almost like 6-7 times in order to collect a point, because even if you have better positions, they will find some defense or counterattack. Now, okay, you figure out how to deal with this, but they find something else, and you still have a better position, but it's so difficult to win the game. Now, nowadays, I don't know why, because of the internet chess, I really have no idea. Defensive skills generally much below than in a previous generation. Ken, would you agree with that?
I'm not sure. I agree, because maybe it's because at elite levels, I observe that defensive skills are much higher.
On elite level, yes.
And maybe that's in classical chess, though. I've always long had the opinion that it's harder to win a chess game than it used to be.
Against elite players, like 2,700 plus, yes, I agree with you. But when you go just below that,
and Sasha, I'll tell you what I think is one of the differences. There's many, obviously, because like Carlsen and Kasparov play a game that I'm not familiar with, but like I can remember talking with Robert Hubner, and him talking about, so and so doesn't understand this type of position, and I realized, one of the differences between a player, like a class above me, say, like a Ken or a class above Ken, is like these players understand all sorts of positions where I only understand a half, like a handful of them. And like I could get grandmasters in positions that I understood and get draws and play them evenly because I understood the position.
Jim, I think understanding of position is very close to the knowledge of positions. For example, many years ago, 30 years ago, so when Kasparov was still world champion, in one of the European tournaments, they had organizers had a study. They showed each of the participants, there were probably 10 participants, 500 different positions, and asked them to evaluate position, find the best move, so on. Out of this 500 positions, Kasparov knew 480 plus positions, and second place was Judith Polgar, who knew about 420 positions, and all the rest were far below that. So, is it knowledge, understanding, or both?
Well, it is true that a BBC-sponsored documentary and National Geographic and featuring Susan Polgar and people from Britain whom we know, called My Brilliant Brain, established that the area of the brain that lights up when you're playing chess is the same as used for facial recognition. So those positions are being recognized the same way we recognize old friends.
Wow. Well, that's that says one thing, but it doesn't say like does it light up more for a stronger player?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I forget whether if you find the documentary, maybe it links to studies where they broke things down that way.
Yeah, because that's what's interesting to me. Because I think like when you look at positions and you have knowledge of. I remember when I was starting out, I got one of these Fred Reinfeldt books, which was tactics, and so it was a series of pins followed by a series of forks, and my play jumped. I would think a class in strength because all of a sudden I could recognize these tactics whenever they showed up in my games. But I was talking what Hubner was talking about was like the pawn structure, the structure of the game, where you put your pieces based on where the pawns are. And what you should play on the queen side, play on the king side, play on both. There's an understanding of certain types of openings that lead to certain structures that lead to certain types of play, and good plans as opposed to bad plans. Like if I was in a position that I understood, I would have a good plan, and I was tactically aware enough to avoid any traps or anything like that. But if I was in a position I was unfamiliar with and I had to figure the plan out by myself, then I was very inferior to players of 2,500, 2,600 strength.
Jim, so don't you think that maybe King F7 was very shrewd move to get your less experienced opponent into unfamiliar territory?
It would totally have thrown me.
Yeah. And this is a strategy, something to think. Unless he would let himself into unfamiliar position. So now they're both in unfamiliar position, except that one is simply stronger player, more experienced, and that's what happened in the game.
Yes, I think if we were both, stronger player, if we're both in unfamiliar positions, they have a much better chance of figuring out the right strategy than I did.
So I think that the popularity in the last several years of the London system is exactly that. You're leading your opponent in unfamiliar, at least at that time. Now it's a little bit more familiar, but still, it's quite, it looks like it's very peaceful move, Bishop before. In fact, I think it creates some weaknesses in the white position, like pawn b2 and so on.
b2, yeah, that's lots of lines on that.
It requires so precise and really forceful play of black to expose this. It's not easy at all. And in the meantime, white has a clear plan to develop its pieces.
Exactly.
It doesn't have any advantage, but again, the position is not simplified easily. And still a game. So if you were determined to slowly win, similar to what Kasparov did with Karpov's match in Madrid, 87, when he needed to win the last game, he played very unpretentious opening, knight f3, c4, or something like this. Karpov would equalize several times, but it never happened. so, so it did pay off. It's one of very few games in the history of the World Championships when a player had to win decisive game. The another one is Kramnik against Leka, where
And
he must have won the last game.
Lasker against Schlechter.
Yeah, okay, and that's another one.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are very few games, by the
Yeah.
way, of that magnitude.
But
Okay.
I have to say, Sasha, one last thing is I just think that the players that are stronger are stronger for many reasons.
Oh, good. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes, this is true. Yeah.
And like I remember this famous book. I don't know if it's ever been translated in English language. It's 12 Chairs by Ilfin Petrov, that every Russian read and enjoyed it. There was a scene when Ostap Bender, the main hero of the book, he came in some little place on the Volga River, and they needed to get some money somewhere. So he pretended that he is a chess grandmaster, and he was giving simultaneous chess display in a local chess club. The name of the club was Chess Club of Four Horses for some reasons. So he moved e4 on each board and so on. But before that, he had a little lecture first. And his lecture was very short. And he said that, well, look, for example, this guy, who is a dark-haired guy, for example, he's a better player than the red-haired guy. And he put finger on these two people in the audience. And he said that with that, no training, no practice, nothing will ever change this equilibrium of strengths. This player always will be a little bit stronger than the other one. Now, whether he was joking or he was serious, nobody knows him today. With that, I would like to finish today's program, and we'll see you next time, same place, same time.
Thank you very much. Always interested to see you.
Great games, Ken. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.